Hey everybody, it's Jesse. And today we're going to start on an entirely new project. So we may not be finished with the last project, we might come back to it, but right now there's just not a lot going on with it, and the things that remain to be done, they're either things that we've done before, sometimes multiple times on the stream, or they're just not really a big deal, so I don't know that they're worth streaming. But today, I want to kind of get you familiarized with the site that we'll be working on, probably for the rest of the month, and just kind of let you know some of the background. If you're interested, I did do some videos where we were trying to fix this site a bit before, so this is on my YouTube channel, so there's a link in the description, but the video that's first ever live coding session, I talk about this website in there. I'm pretty sure, let's see the quality. Yeah, so the max quality is 720p, and I think the font size is too small, so it was my first session, so I was kind of messing things up a bit, but you can still hear me. So you can get an idea of what's going on with this, but I'm going to try to summarize everything and what we're trying to accomplish. So it's not necessary that you go back and watch that, but if you wanted more info, I think maybe this video and maybe the next two or three live streams after are about this site. And this is a site that we're working on. This is a public site, so franciscan.edu. And it's slow. So there's other things wrong with the site, but for today we're going to focus on how slow it is. I ran a page speed test earlier, and this is what we got. 29 out of 100, which is good compared to what it was. So when earlier this year, I had some time to work on this site, and the score was actually 1. So I'll have to find a screenshot. I'm pretty sure I took a screenshot of it because it was the lowest score I've ever seen. If I can find it, I'll show you all, but I'm pretty sure it was 1. And yeah, so it's better than it was, but there's still a lot. So you can see some are easy things like just image, reducing image sizes, compressing images. Some are things that are a little bit more difficult, and some things we won't be able to change. We'll just kind of have to work with it. So things like server response time, I don't really have access to anything with the server right now. It's a whole different department where I work that handles that. So I won't directly be able to change anything. I can try to work with the other department though to get some things changed. So as you can see, in this particular test, server response time was 1.1 seconds. That's not good. I've seen it as high as 7 seconds with this server. And yeah, so it doesn't matter how fast we make this site, we still have to deal with this server response time. So hopefully I can do something about that, or at least talk to people who can do something about that. Also, my camera keeps freezing, so I'll try to fix it. I don't know what the problem is, but I came in today and it wasn't working, so there's some command that I can type in to get it to work, but it's only working temporarily. So let's see. Alright, let me go to the live chat quickly just to say hi before we get started. Hey everybody. Let's see. Oh, is there, Joseph says there's an Apple event going on. Oh, am I streaming during an event? I've done this before. I should pay more attention to what's going on, but if I don't have a lot of people, I'm going to blame it on that. But actually, it looks like there's a lot of people right now. I mean, more than usual. So, yeah, today we're going to work with some stuff that we've never worked with before. So, in particular, this site was built with a content management system called Electron, and that system is based off of .NET framework. And so there's some C# stuff. I don't know how much we're going to get into C# today, but we will get into it at some point. So we may start looking at it. I don't know how much we're actually going to edit. Let's see. John B said no longer camera shy. Eh? Yeah, I'm trying this out. I'm trying the camera thing. And, John B says, I rate your camera a 29 out of 100. What can I improve? Is it the quality or is it my face? I'm not. All right, cool. So let's get started. I always forget to do this at the beginning, but if you're just watching for the first time, though, this stream is just about me doing my everyday work. So it's not necessarily a tutorial, although I try to explain things as I go along, and there are a lot of people in the live chat that are very helpful answering questions. But I just want other developers to see what it's like for me to do my job. I don't know if I'm an average developer or not. I don't really know if my workflow is the norm, but I thought it would be useful if other people, especially maybe people who work on their own or who are just kind of starting out, could just see what it's like for me, see how many mistakes I make and how I work through that. And so that's what we're doing here. So if you do see a lot of mistakes, if it seems like it's unscripted, that's kind of the point. So it's not scripted, and I will make mistakes. So that said, let's get to it. I like to organize the streams with a Pomodoro timer, so I'll do 25 minutes of coding or whatever we happen to be doing. It's not always code. Like right now, we're going to be going through some of the site speed things, but I'm going to do that for 25 minutes. I'll take a 5-minute break, and I'll go through the live chat and answer any questions you have, and then we'll just repeat. Today we'll probably do 2 Pomodoro sessions. I'd like to keep this stream a little bit short. I'm still working on that React Nano degree, and I have a Redux project due by Friday, and it is not done yet. So I need to work on it. So that's why I don't want to do a really long stream. I want to get done and work on it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to start with some explanation of what the site is, what's wrong with it, what we're going to try to change. Hopefully, by the end of September, we'll see how much we can get done. All right, so this is the site, the main site for the university that I work at. I'm a front-end developer for Franciscan University. This site was built before I started working here. I think it's about 3 years old. In terms of when it was launched, it's about 3 years, but in terms of development, it's pushing 4 years, I think, because the site was built and underwent a lot of testing and things. So it's about 4 years old, and it's definitely in need of some bigger updates than we're going to handle this month. But the completely redesigning everything from the ground up is going to be a project that's going to come hopefully within the next year, but not right now. So right now we're just going to try to make the best of what we have. All right, and what we have, as I mentioned earlier, is a site built off the Electron content management system. If you've never heard of Electron, then I'm not surprised, because I never heard of Electron before I started here. And it's a challenging content management system to work with. Luckily, I don't have to do that much with it. There are other people in my department who handle most of the content management with that, and I don't usually have to deal with it directly. But right now, I've already showed you the site speed rating, and if you wanted to look at this in more detail, you could just run the site speed test yourself on the site. But the first thing that we're definitely going to be able to do is we're going to be able to compress some of these images. But even better than that, what I think we can do is actually get rid of some images. So let's see, browser caching. I don't know that I can do anything about the caching, so things that I can't do anything about, I'm going to hide. We can try to eliminate the render blocking JavaScript and CSS. I'll show you in a minute what we're dealing with here in terms of how this gets put into, by Ektron, how things get put together. So I don't have complete control over all the files. Some of them are kind of created dynamically and just put in here and there, but we'll do the best we can. You can see there's quite a few files being loaded here. Can't do anything directly about the server response time, and we're going to try to fix this, prioritize visible content, but that's going to we need to do some work. Also, when it comes to minifying the JavaScript, I can't minify a lot of these directly because I don't know where they're coming in at. So that's one of the bad things about Ektron is there's not really an Ektron community. Like if this was WordPress, I'd probably find 500 articles about how something works, probably more. With Ektron, not so much. The company that made Ektron originally got bought out by another company, so I'm not even sure what the support is like with Ektron anymore. And then minify HTML. Probably won't be able to minify the HTML. And if you're wondering why we can't do certain things, it'll be a little bit more clear in a minute. Although I know some of you are good with C#, so I know Umberto is good with C#, so maybe some things that I don't think I can do right now, maybe we can do, and I just don't know how. So anyway, that's what we're dealing with. The biggest images on the page are obviously the images in this slider, and they all load. So there's no lazy loading going on here. All these images load, and they're all pretty big. Obviously, they need to be a certain size if it's going to be, a large slider like this. But some images are actually really big, and they don't need to be. Like this image is one of the largest images on the page, but it's tiny, right? So there's little things like that we can change, and that really the people who are updating this site through the content management system need to be aware of the size of images that they're putting in and making sure that they compress the images. So we'll handle that. I don't want to do too much compression and things and image resizing on the stream because I don't think that's just not really exciting stuff. It might be worth it just to go over how I do it, but I don't want to go through a ton of images and do resizing and things. Some of the images I think we can get rid of are these. I don't think that we need these here, and these images are pretty big. So each one of these sections, we could probably take the images out completely. We want to make sure, I did go through a few months ago and made sure these images were the correct size and compressed, but it's possible that some new ones have been uploaded, so we want to double check that. The same way this image changes frequently, so we want to double check to make sure that image is working correctly. I know user interface wise there's a ton of stuff I want to change with this user interface, but the first thing that I want to worry about is the load times, because if the page takes too long to load and someone doesn't even stick around to see it, then it doesn't matter how nice it looks. It could be the best looking site ever made, but if it takes 50 seconds to load, no one's going to see it. Alright, so let me see if I just want to see if there's any questions quickly in the live chat about, before we actually start to dig into some of the code. So I'm just going to quickly kind of scroll through this and see if there's any questions related to the site. Okay. All right, cool. It looks like nothing related to the site, although John Hansen does say if you do a Google page speed test, they'll actually give you the compressed files to download in the images. Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's see where they are. At the bottom? Yeah. So you can download, when you do a page speed test, you can download all your compressed resources. So I have used some of these before. So we may get some of these. For the images, I use ImageMagick on the command line, and I'm able to get better compression than I can get from these. Also, we're going to need to resize some of them as well. But it'll probably be useful to grab some of this JavaScript and CSS at some point. You know, we could minify it ourselves, but if it's already done for us, then, you know, why not use it? Alright, so we're just going to deal with the home page for now. Obviously, that gets the most visitors, and it's also the page that takes the longest by far to load. So some of the interior pages aren't quite as bad for load times. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think we'll get this, you know, to where we really want it in the amount of time that we have, but if we do, we'll move on maybe and work on some interior pages. I'm going to be using, let's see, where am I? I ought to bring this over so it's closer where we're at. There we go. I want to show you my Trello board as well. So I do have a Trello board that I already made a few months ago. Just a lot of things that I thought could be done to help with load time. So, you know, we're gonna go through some of these. We don't have to come up with everything, you know, on our own right now. So, you know, basic stuff, minify these files, but some of the things are actually redoing the UI so that we can get away with not having so many images, or we can completely get rid of some pieces of code that, for whatever reason, are slowing things down a bit. This is the file that we're going to be working with mostly. So you can see I'm actually using Visual Studio Code. So I know we always have someone always asks about my code editor. So it's Visual Studio Code this time and not Atom. So we're mainly going to be working in this file, although you can see there's a lot of different things linked into this file, so we're going to have to dig into some of these other files as well. But this is a copy of the template that is used for the home page. So we'll do everything in the copy so we don't mess up the home page. And when we get it to a point where it's good and we like it, then we can just copy it over or change the name and use that instead for the home page. So just kind of scrolling through quickly. Up here we're importing. So it's not really that, in terms of organization and what's going on, there's some similarities to what we're doing with React, right? We're importing a lot of other components. I don't know what the terminology is for Ectron or for .NET framework stuff, but in terms of the terminology that we've been using with React, you know, we're importing components up here, and then down here we're mixing HTML with some of these other. Let me try to find it. Okay, with some of these tags here, right? So we can put in, you know, these things that we've imported up there, we put them in with these tags and we pass props to them, right? So it's really a lot like React components. It just, at least superficially, I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes and whether it's comparable to React, but at least, you know, so that we can reason about it, that's basically what it is. And I'm probably going to still use React terminology because, like I said, I don't really know what the Ectron terminology is for this stuff, and I don't really care to learn it since we're not going to be using it for that much longer anyway. So let's go into into the code that's controlling this this carousel here. So this is kind of like the hero section carousel. I want to get rid of it. I want it to be completely gone, right? This that seems to me like it'll have the biggest immediate impact on load times out of anything else that I could do, or at least that I could easily do, because these are the largest images. I can get rid of 1, 2, how many do I have? Whoops, actually it's not even, some weird stuff going on. 3, was it like 3 or 4 images? I think 4 images. So 4 large images on the page can be gone. We'll get rid of that, and we'll also get rid of these. So basically the 8 largest images on the page we're going to get rid of. I think that's going to have a huge impact. Also, wouldn't be a bad idea to just do just a baseline to see what our load times are. So let's just check out. I'm going to change my network conditions here and throttle it. Let's go with a fast 3G and see what it's like on fast 3G. I like to slow it down just so that I get a better idea of what it's like for people with slower connections, and also you can kind of see things loading when it's a slower connection. So I'm just going to refresh, and we'll see what we get. You see how slow that was, right? Like waiting for the response from the network. That was really slow. Alright, so we're still waiting. I mean, at this point, the page is usable, but not everything is loaded yet. So you scroll down, it's pretty much everything was loaded. We're still waiting on some of these images. Okay. Are we done now? Yeah. Alright, total load time 35.75 seconds. So almost 36 seconds total load time. Right? Obviously the page was usable. You could see content a lot earlier than that. But you still had this little thing, going up here, or whatever it does with Chrome, for 36 seconds. That's crazy. I don't know about you, but to me that's just really slow. So let's just see what took the longest, or let's see what the biggest files were. So we have an image. Okay, this is up there in the slider. I think that's the main image there. And then we have, oh, okay, this is the one with the president of the university. This one is that image that's here, that's really small, that should not be this big, right? This image is 370 kilobytes. It's crazy. That first image, 1.3 megabytes. That's completely unacceptable. Okay, as we go down, it gets better, but as is usual, your biggest files are images. I mean, unless you have video on your site, your biggest files are probably always going to be images. You can see we are loading some bigger JavaScript files, so jQuery UI complete, right? I wonder if we really need that, or if we need everything there. I'm interested to see if that's okay. At least it's minified. That's good. That's crazy that it's still that big, even minified though. We can see anything that says banner. Those are those big sections here, right? So they're kind of towards the top as well. We want to get rid of that. Okay. And it looks like there's no surprises I was kind of looking for something up towards the top that would just be, you know, really big. But it's not bad. I mean, I expected it would be images, so so that's definitely, I think, where we need to. Oh goodness, 24 seconds for that. Wow. That's where we need to look first. That's where we're going to have the biggest impact. Okay. Oh, I just looked over at the live chat quickly, and I noticed that my camera stopped, so I'm resetting that again. If anybody ever has had issues with an iMac camera just all of a sudden not working right, like the little green light just goes black and right in the middle of me doing stuff. It's right on the main screen too. Excuse me, it's yawning. My secondary screen, I haven't had any problems with that, but the angle is weird, so you just see like the side of my face the whole time. So anyway, I'll probably end up getting a like a USB webcam at some point, so it shouldn't be a problem for that much longer, but for now it's just a little annoyance. But I also saw Nova Glow ask why I'm in incognito mode. Because I'm an administrator for this site, it automatically logs me in, and I don't really want to log myself out when I'm using Chrome not in incognito mode, and other files get loaded, and so I don't want to mess with the administrator type, you know, files that get for the UI for the admins. I just want to see what other people see, so that's why I'm doing it in incognito mode. It also allows me to switch right over, so I usually have the same site open normally in Chrome with the admin features there, so I can switch over and change things really quick without having to log in and log back out. Man, every time I look at this site, I just see more things that I want to fix and change. Okay. So let me show you, if we're going to take this out, we need to replace it with something, right? We can't just completely remove it. That would look kind of weird. Let me show you what I'm thinking of for the replacement. Sorry, yawning again. I don't know what's going on. I don't think I brought it over yet. It might still be on my other screen. Alright, so let me show you what I'm thinking. So this obviously, when you see it, you're going to know why I'm saying this obviously isn't going to be what we put in here, but just kind of the basic structure is going to be more what we use. So let me try to do as much of side by side as I can. So right now you see this is the header. Here's our menus. Not really a fan of this too much. Here's what I'd like to move it to, and this should look at least somewhat familiar since this kind of the same style as what we used on our last project, but I'd like to switch over to this. I think I'll take this logo out and use our new logo that we used on our last project. When I did this before, I don't think I had the new logo yet. So that will change, but you can see I've moved the header. I moved some stuff around on the header. I think it looks more clean. I've actually added some of the social media icons. So I think it looks a lot nicer. I shrunk the search bar a bit and added a lot of things in the sidebar. So you can see all those menu items are still there, but now they've moved over here. Okay, and we have search over there as well. If you're interested in how I did this, check out those videos on my channel that I showed you at the beginning, because I do go through a lot of how I did this header and how I did this background. So it's really simple. I mean, it's a simple like parallax style background, but I'm thinking right now we have 4 big images, and sometimes we have even more images on here. It just depends on how many are uploaded at any given time. So we'll go from that down to 1 large image. So we'll still have a hero section, we just won't have all those images. So this is just a stock photo, obviously. We also have, and you can see I didn't finish this, right? We have a spot for, you know, for some text, a call to action button, right? And then below, obviously I haven't finished this, but you can see I've gone with a full width. Whoa, that's weird. That's really weird. I haven't seen that happen before. That's crazy. I've honestly never seen that happen. Oh, is that? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what happened there. I guess I turned off that server. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's why. So I didn't have any of my NPM modules installed for that project, and so my gulp server wasn't running. So anyway, I'm installing things on my other screen here. So, but you get the idea of kind of what I want to do is just kind of redesign this section here so I can get rid of these images. I'm also going to be able to get rid of a lot of these images as well. So look, we have, you know, we have more images here, and it'll clean things up there. And I mean, we're going to get rid of at least a dozen images. So it's definitely going to be, it's going to be a lot more lightweight. And let's see, it looks like for some reason my my install failed. So all right then. So I'm getting some error that I've never seen before. I'll give it another shot, see if it works. Not really a big deal. We can still do a lot of this without. Guess it is doing that again. Shoot. Okay, so my my timer went up, so now is a good time to break for 5 minutes. I'll go over the live chat, and then while I'm doing that, let's see. I guess I'll bring this over too so you all can see what's going on here. Alright, so you can check that out. I'm in. So now, hopefully you won't see the error again, but if it comes up, you'll see it. Oh, yeah, so alright, so I may just have to. That's really weird. I might just have to check that out later on. Alright, so I'm going to scroll up a bit, and I'm going to go through the live chat, answer questions for 5 minutes, and then we'll go back and try to actually change some things on this page. Okay, Michael Avila says, give me a shout out. So, actually, it's a shut out. Anyway, so there's your shout out. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being involved in the live chat. All right, Patrick says C# for the win, not, but I hear .NET Core 2 is really fast as opposed to older .NET Tech. Yeah, unfortunately, this is older .NET Tech, so so not gonna be working with the new cool stuff yet. Okay. All right, I'm still scrolling through trying to find some questions here in the live chat. Okay, so Desi asks, says, just starting out and want to get in the IT world, is front end or back end the best or ideal way to go? I think it honestly depends on what you're interested in. I don't know. I guess I've seen or either read about examples of people starting with either front end or back end, and then sometimes they switch. Sometimes they go full stack. I don't know. It really does depend on what you're more interested in as to where you want to start out. You could always switch. Yeah, I guess it would be hard to answer, in general. From what I've seen, and this is, I've not studied this, but just from like casually observing, it does seem like salaries for back end are slightly higher than for front end. But I don't know if that's true across the board or just the few times I've noticed it. So I don't know. That could be a factor for you. Rugranshu says, learn front end stuff somewhat well, then learn back end, then combine and improve. John B says, depends on if you prefer working with routing and networking or if you prefer working with design and user interfaces. Front end is UI, back end is routing and networking. Umberto says, I don't think I'm ever going to be very good at front end design, just not something I'm very interested in or good at for that matter. Yeah, Umberto, I would say if you're not interested in it, then there's really probably not much reason to try to work on it. But if you did want to get better at it, I think it's one of those things that it just takes time, right? It takes a long time to just get that eye to look at something and say, and I'm not saying I have this perfectly, but just comparing myself to where I was, like, let's say 5 years ago, to be able to look at a website and immediately start to pick out places where the design could be improved, where there's just obvious things, or to be able to look at a blank page and just start to visualize where everything would go. That just takes a lot of time of being exposed to it. I don't know. I kind of think like you get all this information in your brain from seeing so many websites and trying to think critically about them, and then at some point it just kind of happens naturally, right? It's not like it seems like you're just good at it, but I don't think it's the case that people are just good. I think it's that your brain gradually gets used to picking those things out. So anyway, that's just my take on it. All right, I'm going to go back and do some more coding. Like I said, we're going to do one more Pomodoro session, and then I'll answer the rest of the questions. And let's see. I will say, I do want to give elaborate a little bit more on what I was just talking about, especially for people who are just starting out. I've seen, and maybe you all have seen this recently, there's like a little comic that I've seen online to where somebody's a writer. There's two people talking to each other, and the one person is saying, you know, how do I get to be a better writer? Like, I'm still no good. I think it's writing, and maybe it's an artist. I don't remember. But he's asking someone more experienced, and the more experienced person just says, like, just keep practicing. And the person says, well, what do I've been practicing. Look at all the stuff I've done. And it shows a pile of work, pile of papers. And the other person's, I think, says something like, well, just keep going. And that you see their pile, and it's huge. Like, you know, it's way bigger than the other pile. So I think it's kind of the same thing when it comes to coding. It can be applied to that. And I don't think it's just like a design thing or a front-end thing. I think it's any area. It just takes a ton of practice before you start to get really good at it. And again, I'm not claiming that I'm even at that point of being really good at it. There's definitely a lot of things that I'm way better at than I used to be. But there's certainly more room for improvement. And I always like sports metaphors sometimes are easy. Sometimes it's easier to think about it in terms of like a physical activity because the results are just so obvious right in front of you. But I know they used to tell me when I played American football in high school, the more you practice, so I was a quarterback, and they said the more you throw, the more you get to see what's going on in the field from that quarterback's perspective. Things they'd say they would slow down, right? So initially, like when you're trying to find if a receiver's open to throw the ball to, it just looks crazy and confusing. But you just have to do it so many times, and eventually your brain, it gets so used to it, it doesn't seem as chaotic. It slows down, right? And so I think it's the same way. Like you look at code and it's not just this jumbled mess. You see what's going on. You can follow the flow of it. You look at a website design and you see what should be there. So anyway, that was meant to be like somewhat encouraging, that like if you're not there yet, don't feel like there's something wrong with you. You just need to keep going. Although I guess you could take it as daunting as well, thinking like, wow, I'm gonna have to do a ton of work. But anyway, let's get back to this. Also, I did have an issue all this morning. I was working on this bug, and I just want to share with you in case somebody runs into a similar situation. Maybe it'll save you a lot of time. So I was sending form data to Google Sheet and then saving it in a spreadsheet and emailing it from there. But what I was doing, I was taking the form data and serializing it and then sending it. Well, one of the pieces of data was the value of a text area, and occasionally we wouldn't get all the data. It would cut off in the middle of what someone was trying to send. And right, obviously that's a problem because we wouldn't get all the information that we needed, and I could not figure it out. And I was trying to figure out what browsers it was and testing on different browsers and trying to look things up. Couldn't find any information on text areas getting cut off. Finally, I went back in and looked exactly at where everything was getting cut off, and it was getting cut off right at a point where they were using and. So they were using an ampersand, and when the data is serialized, it just dropped everything after that because it assumed everything after that was like part of the next piece of data. So I actually just went through, and before I serialized it, I went through and changed all ampersands to and, so A-N-D, and I put it in there. So that was the fix. So if anybody ever has data being dropped like that and you're from forms, maybe it's that. Check that out. So I don't know why I never thought about that when I was first doing that form, but really glad I found it. It stinks that I had to spend so much time to find it, but it feels good when you find out the solution to a bug. So anyway, not related to this project, but could be helpful for someone. Oops. Alright, so like I said, something's wrong with this. I did have this running in, basically I had it in a different directory. So everything that I had done before was a branch on another Git repo, and I wanted to make it its own Git repo. So I moved it over. I copied and pasted a bunch of stuff. I initialized a new Git repo, and then for whatever reason now it's not working right. So I'll have to. That's why it did work before, and we could see it at first. But now I'll have to work on that. Okay. So let's go in now. What we need to do, we need to find where the data is being pulled in for this header, and where it's being pulled in for this as well, right? Because it's not, most of the stuff is not directly in that master template. It's in one of the components that are being imported. So we're going to have to do a little bit of digging. And this file structure is not it's not well organized. This file structure has been worked on by multiple people over years before I even got here, and so it's a little bit crazy. Just as an example, we have all these different configs, and they're named original config, original older config. This is actually another copy called webmay7.txt, and it's a text file, but it's just a copy of the config, right? So there's not even a standard like naming convention or anything, so it makes it a little bit difficult to find things. But at least we'll have some hints here, because we can look at what's being imported here. Okay, so main nav. If I had to guess, I'd say main nav was probably that nav bar that we're looking for. Let me know if the font is too small for you. I can make it bigger. And let's see. Utility nav, utility mobile. Footer. We'll probably need. We need to. Actually, I'm not going to bring in. So I think we can strike a balance between things that we pull in, that it's data from the content management system, and things that we can hard code in. I'm not opposed to hard coding in this case, because this is just a kind of a temporary thing to make the site a little bit more bearable until we can redo the site. So things that are not likely to change, like our social media URLs, I have no problem at all hard coding those. So can probably safely just get rid of this at some point, hard code the social media links in. Those aren't going to change. But let's try to find this main nav, and I do want to scroll down to the point where that nav comes in at to see if I want to see where that slider is coming in at as well. So let's scroll down a bit. We're still at some script things. So you can see there's a lot of different, just as we scroll, there's a lot of different JavaScript stuff going on, things being imported different places. So we can mess around with this and try to move them around. We can try to move them around a bit. See if we can increase load times just by maybe pulling in some of this stuff, down at the bottom. Okay. All right. Header, logo. Okay. Main nav. Oh, and the utility nav. This is interesting. So it looks like a few of these navs are kind of put together. So we may need to work on all of them. Okay, so that's the top section. Now this is where okay. All right, so everything that's between the footer and the header is all in a different component. Okay. Okay. Well, let's go check out that nav then. So we'll go to user controls, main nav. All right. We can look. This will probably be faster. There we go. Alright, so this is the main nav. Okay, looks like we got some jQuery going on at the top for the search box, which we should be able to get rid of most of it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we're in the right spot now. We can see the different links here. Actually, we could see, and this is kind of odd. When I first looked at this, I was not sure what was going on, but here's what happens. So we can see all this HTML, and it looks like this stuff is hard-coded, but at some point it pulls in the data from the content management system. So all this hard-coded stuff up here doesn't really mean anything. This is what's important. All right, and this is basically our components, and then props are getting passed in after data is being pulled from the content management system. So this is what we need to worry about, and this is what I wanted to see, because what we want to do, we're going to totally change, the HTML of that header to make it match what we're doing with our header and our side nav. So I want to be able to grab these and input them in, and I need to figure out, so okay, it's, what are they doing here? Obviously, if this was React, right, I'd be pulling in data and mapping over it and things like that. Well, I'm not exactly sure how to do that with this. So it seems like we can use this repeater, and that will loop through everything. Oh, there's definitely some stuff going on that I'm just like, I'm not sure about. Like, how do we have nested item templates here? What does that even see? So there's weird stuff that I'm just not entirely sure what's going on with that. Wow, that is a very long string of data there. Okay, I'd say what I ought to do then is bring in, actually I'm going to look at the live chat quickly to see, because I know there are some of you that use, that possibly could be more familiar with this. So I'm just going to check briefly. Okay, Umberto asked if there's a repo. I think I saw that somewhere. Now I can't find it again. Oh, a lot of this stuff is in a private repo right now. I can probably pull some of it. At least some of it, I think, could be in a public repo. Yeah, it'll just have to be limited. Yeah, I'll have to double check and see what, just to make sure, like, you know, because there's a config file and stuff in here that has like database passwords and things. So I'll have to double check and see what's actually committed to the repo, and if I can make it public. Also, someone was talking about errors. Okay, it was John Hansen saying there are 71 errors on that page. Browsers will have to perform error correction. Wait, there's 71 errors on. Are we? Is this on this page? Did we get 79 errors? Or are we talking about something else? Okay, Tom asks, what is ASCX? To be honest with you, I don't know what it stands for, but basically these are templates. So if you want to think in JavaScript terms and React terms, this is kind of like if you had a .jsx file, and I mean that's really a loose comparison, right? Because admittedly I'm not really familiar with this, so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, as much as I have to make these changes. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error. But I imagine this is not that uncommon, that you would come into a project that was an already existing project, kind of like a legacy thing, and have to work with it and not really have a lot of freedom to change things drastically. So that's what we're gonna have to do. So what I want to do right here, I think, is copy and paste a bunch of this stuff. And then I don't know about this search right now. I didn't really want to bring in all this jQuery, but maybe I'll bring. I'm not worried about the search right now. I can bring that in later. But let's pull in. I'll have to find that other template. Where was it? There we go. Okay. So here's what I want to pull in. Alright, I need to format this so it's easier to read. So let's just format it as HTML for now. Okay. Okay, so this is where we were pulling in main nav. So let's comment that out for now, and then put some of this in here. And let's see what it does. And I need to figure out, what URL this test page is at. Because I don't remember. Okay, cool. So we have an answer. So ASCX is the file extension for ASP.NET or ASP.NET. Not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but I'm going to say ASP because that seems like it would be faster. It says basically ASCX files make it easy to use the same code across multiple ASP.NET web pages. Cool. All right. Let's shoot, I can't remember. Let's test. Sorry everyone, I cannot remember what the URL is for the test version of this because I made it at the beginning of this year and I haven't been on it for a long time. So let's see. I'm gonna look it up here. So on my other screen, I'm in the content management system. I don't want to show you this right now because I don't want to show something that shouldn't be on, like in terms of there might be content that's scheduled to be released that shouldn't be public yet. I don't really know. I don't use this often enough to even know if that's a thing, but just in case. All right, let's see. Pages. Test. Home test. Okay. I was close. All right, cool. So I got it to work. So here's the page, and you all can go to this. This is public. Franciscan.edu/home test. And we've got an error, which is cool. I kind of expected we'd get some error because we just copied and pasted a ton of stuff that, to be honest with you, I didn't completely understand anyway. Just, mainly because of the syntax that I'm not used to. But let's see, so we're line 352. Line 352, we have, so is this, that's the first line that we actually put this in. So let's get rid of a lot of this stuff. Whoops. Okay, let's get rid of that. Since that was all, I can see now that this looks like it was commented out anyway. Alright, now let's see if we can figure out why. that's not working. We have let's see that. See. And in case you notice this, we are in fact cowboy coding right now, so there really is not a test version of this site. I can't do anything about that. That's just I know that that's not good, but there's supposed to be a beta version of this site, but unfortunately it shares all the same files. I'm not really sure. I think it has a different database, but all the files are the same. So if I go to change a file for the test version, it also changes things on the live version. So for our purposes, we're editing the live version of the site, and there's not really anything that I can do about that. Okay, let me check again. So this is okay, the name child has taxonomy does not exist in the current context. Alright, so probably let me copy something over. Whoops. I lost my other file. Let's split this. Main nav. Alright. Let's check out. There we go. We'll shrink that, give us a little bit more space. And we're gonna, oops. I think I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. There we go. Actually, let me see this as well. This each .ascx page has this .cs page with it. So there might be some things going on here. Yeah, I think there are definitely some things going on here that's probably the reason why we're getting the errors. So this just has child taxonomy. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So it's not enough that I just copied that over, because I didn't bring over any of this stuff. And so let's see. I think this, yep. If I just bring this over, I want to see if that'll work. I'm thinking there might be some problems with the path, but it's worth a shot. We'll see. I don't know if it'll work. Yeah, I can't put two of those in there. I may have to leave this as a separate component and then just edit the component. Yeah, so what we probably should do then is make a test version of this nav component, and then we probably won't need a test version of the CS file. We can just link that CS file up to our test component, and then in our main test .master, we can pull in that component, our test main nav component, make all our changes in that. Otherwise, if we try to change the main nav.ascx right now, it will change on the live site, so I don't want to mess with that. So let's see. Let's make a copy of this. Copy. Paste that. Main nav 1. I'm going to rename that. Main nav test. Okay, so we got main nav test, and now we should be able to pull this in. Let's try main nav test tag name main nav. Yeah, and as long as we don't change that tag name, we won't even have to change it down there. So we're pulling in. We're importing, like I said, I don't really know the correct terminology, but in terms of like React terminology, I guess, that we're used to, we're importing this main nav test component as main nav. So we can refer to it as main nav, and we can remove, where are we at here? Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't take that out. So you see we're pulling in that main nav right there as the component. Now let's get rid of all this other stuff that we pulled in that won't work. And desktop main menu, I think we pulled that in as well. Oops, no we didn't, sorry. Okay. There we go. So let's save that. We shouldn't have errors now. Alright, awesome. Okay, cool. So we pulled that in. It works. Let's, before I stop and answer questions, I just want to verify that this in fact does work by changing something, preferably something obvious. And see, you can see I had already in the main file, I had removed all the stuff that's going on down here, so that we could build it from scratch. So that's why there's nothing there right now. All right, so let's go to that test file, and I'm gonna get rid of that so I don't accidentally change anything on it, and our main nav test, and we can let's change something. I was hoping there was something hard-coded somewhere in here. Files green background. Yeah, let's just switch it. Okay, so the placeholder right now says search with 3 dots. Let's take out the 3 dots. So search, you can see search with 3 dots. Wow. These load times are gonna annoy me. Alright, see, now the 3 dots are gone. So that works. So we did pull in a copy of that component. That's our test component. Now we can mess with it and do whatever we want to it, and we won't have to worry about messing up the live site. Just to verify, let me bring over the live site. You can see this is the version with the admin stuff in, but you can see this still has the 3 dots, so now we have 2 completely different nav components being used. Alright. Well, didn't get that much done visibly, but got a lot done in terms of just understanding how this works, so that the next time we can jump in and just really start messing around with the components and pulling things in, and just kind of reworking this page. The thing we'll have to remember is just to make sure that we make copies, test versions of everything, and just be really careful that we don't edit directly one of the files that's being imported into the main live version. Well, I should say they're all live, but into the version of the site that most people see. Okay, let me go to the live chat now. If you at this portion of the stream, I do a question and answer. So if you have any questions, put them in the live chat. If you're not interested in the question and answer session, thank you so much for watching. Totally understand if you get other stuff you need to do. And I'll probably be back tomorrow. Actually, there's a slight chance that I may take time off work to work on my nanodegree project. So if I do, then maybe I won't be back tomorrow. But we'll see. Hopefully I won't have to. Alright, so I'm going to scroll back up to the place where I left off at in the live chat. And I'm just going to go down through and try to get to all the questions that I can. Also, let me know what you all think about kind of this streaming this project in particular. We talked yesterday briefly about it. I don't really have, I don't have full control over what projects I need to work on, but I could try to maybe work on something else during the stream if you think that this won't be great. I mean, it's going to be, there's definitely going to be some stuff that can be applied to any project, like when we get into, a lot of the CSS and different things. I mean, that's going to be useful information. But things that are very specific to this content management system probably won't be that useful, since it's not really a widely used system. So I don't know. I'm open to it, but at this point, I don't really have I don't have another from scratch project that we can start from the beginning right now. I will have some that I'll be working on later on, probably not till towards the middle of October or something. So for now, we'll see. Just let me know what you think. And I can't guarantee that I can really switch up what I'm doing, but I can try. Okay, John Hansen says, I've always been curious about the render blocking CSS. I believe much of it has to do with first paint and above the fold content. Yeah, basically, if you can, the way I try to handle it sometimes is, if I can, I pull out all the CSS necessary for that above the fold content, and I put it in a style tag at the head. All the other CSS I move to the bottom, and I just import it in the bottom. And that seems to give me a really quick initial load, at least in terms of what users will see. Immediately they see the above the fold stuff. The odds of them actually scrolling down to try to see other stuff that may not be loaded yet are really low. So that's worked for me. It doesn't work on every site. Sometimes, bigger, more complex sites, it's hard to really get in there and look at your CSS by hand and pull it out. But on small sites, I've had good luck, doing it that way. Brian says, hey there. Hey, how's it going? Pretty sure I remembered to say your name right this time, so let me know if I didn't. No Bear says PHP can dynamically resize the picture. Yeah, I could do it, but one of the other things is I can't really run. I'm like just really limited in what I can do on this server, so I'm not even sure if I could run any PHP. And actually, in fact, the department that has control of this server, someone higher up in that department is actually really anti-PHP, so I probably would not have permission to do any PHP stuff on any of their servers. So, I don't recognize, I don't know if you can hear my phone ringing. I do not recognize the number, so I'm not going to answer that. It's probably somebody trying to sell me something. John Hansen says, there's just too much on that homepage. Get the virtual scissors out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it can definitely be cut down. John Hansen says that is slow. Yes, it is. It is very slow. Patrick, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but it's a different Patrick than the other person that I usually refer to as Patrick. So I'll say Patrick K. Patrick K says, what is the software you're using for diagnosing? I'm on mobile, can't see the name. I think I was just in DevTools. Yeah, Ranchu says it was DevTools, so it was just Chrome DevTools at the time. Oh, cool. So No Beer did mention, I had said, I got a question earlier about why I was in incognito mode, and No Beer says it's good for like cache problems sometimes. You can get around that by using incognito mode, so also a good reason to use it. Okay, so iGhost says, Jesse, I've been through almost 2 weeks in the university, computer science. I have to say math sucks. The dropout rate is incredibly high. We learned to code in C on Linux from scratch. That's my experience so far. Wow. Yeah, that sounds rough. I know I'm not a big fan of math either. I can do math. I got decent grades in all my math classes, but I just wasn't happy doing it. Code in C. I haven't really done much with C. I've seen some things done with C. It seems like things that you take for granted in other programming languages, you have to do like manually in C, and that seems like it would be very tedious. Salga asks, where's the best tutorial for learning Chrome DevTools? I don't know. If you check out the Google Chrome developers YouTube channel, they actually have some like people who have worked on Chrome talk about some of the features. So I would start there. I'm sure there are some other tutorials that are good, but that's what I usually watch. Like when a new feature comes out, I just check out what the Chrome developers say about it. I mean, they're usually really good at explaining it since they built it. So yeah, I would definitely check that out. John B says in response to iGhost about computer science and math and everything is, math is hard but very useful to know. As for learning C, I will say that will be very, very useful when you get into learning systems, programming, and operating systems. Cool, yeah. Yeah, I would say, I mean, definitely hang in there. programming is programming. So even if you learn a lot of the basic stuff on a language that you might not be that interested in, or you might not, see the benefit of it, all the concepts will transfer well to any language. So, whatever you end up doing later on, it won't be a waste to have learned, whatever language you're learning in your computer science program. And I know a lot of computer science programs that I've had experience with will teach things in languages that are kind of really old languages. And at first, it seems like, why would you teach this? But as I said, I think it's getting the concepts of programming down and problem solving things. That's what's more important. Oh, it seems like iGhost is having trouble with the calculus. Calculus killed me in college. It was pretty rough. Actually, I ended up just barely getting a B in that class, and the teacher was very lenient with me in that. But yeah, I was a business major, and I was in the class with all math majors, and so that didn't help either. That they just got everything and were flying through all the lessons, and I was like, I haven't taken a math class in 5 years. I don't. So it was kind of rough. Okay. All right, so there's some more discussion about some details of calculus, which I'm going to skip through a little bit here. All right, let's see. Alright, so I'm trying to... Oh, okay. Ranshu had some advice for the error I was getting when I was trying to run Yarn and load all my NPM packages. So thank you for that. I'll try that after the stream's over. Let me... No Beer says, did you work? I mean job. Or do you work? I mean job. So I'm not sure if No Beer is asking me or somebody else, because I did skip through a bit of all that calculus stuff. So I'm not sure. So anyway, No Beer, let me know. I'm not sure who you were asking who you were referring to in that question. Okay, Antonio said, good evening, the text is too small. Oh, sorry about that. Was it the text? I'll have to make this text bigger. I'm assuming that you're talking about the text here. Although I can definitely think the text on this page was too small, which I wasn't really worried about because the content on the pages doesn't really matter to what we're doing. But yeah, but let me know if anyone else thinks the text here is too small, and I can make it bigger. Make that. Oops. Yeah, I'll have to like, as you all know who've watched before, I don't use Visual Studio Code often, so I don't have my it's not really set up the way in a way that's comfortable to me yet, so I'll have to get used to it. Novaglow says, can you do a video working with SharePoint Designer? I don't know. I haven't done anything with SharePoint before. I don't foresee anything in the near future that I would need to do on there, but if there is, then I'll try to do a video on it. Okay. Umberto says, I want to clone this project and port it to MVC. Sparwill says, hi everyone, noob here. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Okay, it looks like, so Umberto's been having a lot of trouble with the screen being fuzzy. I'm assuming that that's your connection. Is anybody else getting low quality? Because the stream health has been good the whole time. And yeah, so I mean, I've been outputting the right number of kilobits per second. So it should be okay, but let me know. Okay, Onkit says, so are you a freelancer working for the university, or do you have a full-time, a full-day time job? Yeah, I work full-time for the university, so I am employed full-time here as a front-end developer. I do some freelance work as well on the side, though. So my camera froze for a while back there, and Tony says best freeze face I've seen for a while. It usually it's like mid sneeze or something. Yeah, I did notice. Oh, it just froze again. I did notice that it wasn't a bad freeze. I was like smiling and somewhat looking at the camera, so could be bad. I got to get this camera thing fixed because I could definitely see it freezing up and me just looking really silly and not realizing it. Alright, Umberto says, the job I'm waiting back on, they're going to offer it to me this week, is to convert 14 JSP and Java console apps to .NET. I'm so looking forward to it. That's pretty cool. Definitely let me know how it goes, like if you get the job and how everything goes with that. I don't really have experience doing anything like that, but it sounds interesting. Nobia says, you're telling that you're connect to FileZilla or some similar software? Yeah, so for this particular project, I'm not using FileZilla. I have all the files from this server for the website are, oh, what's the word? I can't even remember. So basically, I'll show you how it works, right? It's mounted, right? So this server is mounted to my file system, so I can just go right in there. I even have, like, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so in this case, like, I'm in the file structure for this. And I can just go right in there right from my machine. So that's how I'm kind of in the server right now. The downside is I can only work on this site when I'm on campus. Like, they have it routed, I don't know, maybe just to my IP. Like, I can only access this from this computer. So even if I'm elsewhere on campus on a laptop, I can't do it. So I don't like being limited like that, but that's kind of the only. I seriously was working here for like a year and a half before I was allowed to even have this much access, so I'll take it. Harshit says, should I pick Redux or MobX? I'm confused. Rudrangshu says, MobX is slightly easier than Redux, but Redux is more popular. Yeah, I would agree with that. From what I've seen from using Redux and from tutorials on MobX, I think MobX is a little bit easier. Oh, okay. Umberto says he just got to the ASP pronunciation. Says it's still pronounced as its acronym, as far as I can tell, ASP. But I would just stick to calling it .NET. All right, I'll try to remember that and just call it .NET from now on. All right. It's always hard about pronunciation when you work. Like, I mean, I basically work alone most of the time, so I only read normally about how to pronounce things, unless I can find somebody on YouTube that says it. So I just kind of, the first time you read it, you got to decide in your head, well, how am I going to pronounce this thing? And that's usually what sticks. Peter asked Mac versus Windows. I'll say this is my answer for the whole operating system question. I develop on a Mac, my servers are Linux, and I game on a PC or on a Windows computer. So that's how I feel about operating systems. Okay, Harshit says, any plans for Vue? I'm getting into it nowadays. I don't have any plans for Vue right now. I'm interested in it. If you want to learn more about Vue, I would check out, there's a series that we just did here at freeCodeCamp. Not me, I mean, but Cody does videos. And he just did, I think it's like a 5-part series. I think there are 5 parts. There might end up being more than that, of building something in Vue from the very beginning all the way through. So I would check that out. I haven't watched it yet, but it seems like it's getting a lot of views and a lot of thumbs up and stuff. So it seems like it's been well received so far. Harshit says, do you use ZSH in your terminal? No, I just have the bash. Just use bash for the terminal. I mean, like, my terminal client is iTerm too, but in terms of like my profile and everything, I think that's what you're asking. So let me know if it's not. John B says, oh, the great pronunciation wars. I'm still a fan of the ever-looming war of SQL versus SQL. I prefer SQL when it comes to that. I'm not sure why I prefer SQL, but I usually do say SQL, but I hear SQL a lot. Yeah, I don't know why we worry so much about pronouncing these acronyms. Like, does it really matter? I mean, as long as you know what the other person is talking about, I don't know that it matters. All right, well, I've gotten to the bottom of the live chat. If I happen to miss your question, I apologize. You can send me a message on Twitter or comment on the video or something, and I'll try to get to your question. I should be back tomorrow. Like I said, there's a chance that I may not stream tomorrow, and I may be working on my my Redux project. So yeah, I may be working on it. It's given me a lot of trouble so far. So hopefully tomorrow I can stream and say, hey, I finished my project and I turned it in. So the chances of that right now don't seem really good, but I can hope, right? So I'll be back probably tomorrow. I'll let you know. I'll send out a tweet tomorrow, and I'll schedule the stream as early as I can so you get the notifications on YouTube if you're subscribed. But until then, have a great day, and thank you so much for watching and contributing in the live chat, and I really appreciate it.